When you get to my age, the people around you are no longer a social life. They are a lifeline. My name is Clara. I'm 83 years old. And what I have learned, slowly and sometimes painfully, is that the relationships you allow into your life at this stage will either carry you through it or quietly break you. And the difference between those two outcomes has very little to do with luck. I have been thinking about this for a long time, and I want to share it with you honestly, because most people don't talk about the landscape of relationships in old age with any real specificity. They talk about family and friendship in general terms, as if those words mean the same thing at 83 that they meant at 40. They don't. When you are older and your world has gotten smaller, and your energy is finite, and your time is something you can no longer pretend is unlimited, the people in your life take on a different weight entirely. Some of them hold you up. Some of them, without meaning to, pull you under. And learning to tell the difference and doing something about it is one of the most important things I have ever done. I was married for 44 years to a man named Walter. We raised 2 children in a house in western Pennsylvania. And for most of my adult life, my world was organized around those 4 people and the wider circle of friends and neighbors and church members that surrounded us. Walter died 8 years ago, and in the years since, I have had to learn, at an age when most people assume the shape of their lives is fixed, how to think about relationships in an entirely new way. Not from scratch exactly, but with a clarity I didn't have when I was younger, and time felt abundant, and the cost of a bad relationship was something you could absorb and move past. At this age, you cannot always move past things. At this age, the people around you matter in a way that is hard to overstate. The first relationship I want to talk about is the one with your children, because nothing is more complicated, more loaded, or more important to get honest about. I have 2 children. My daughter Ellen lives 40 minutes away and has been since Walter died, the person I depend on most in the world. Not because I ask her to be, but because she chose to be without being asked, which is the most meaningful kind of showing up there is. My son David lives in another state and calls when he remembers and visits at Christmas and is, in the private accounting I keep of my own heart, a source of quiet grief that I have had to learn to hold without letting it define me. I am not telling you this to complain about David. I have come to understand over years of reflection that the distance between us is not entirely his fault and not entirely mine, and that the story of how a parent and a child can love each other genuinely and still not find their way to closeness is one of the most common and least discussed heartbreaks of family life. What I want to say about adult children is this. If you have one who shows up, who calls not because they have to, but because they want to, who sits with you without looking at their phone, let them in fully. Don't protect yourself from needing them. Don't manage the relationship from a distance, out of pride or out of a desire not to be a burden. The ones who show up deserve to be let in, and letting them in is one of the great privileges of this stage of life. And if you have a child who doesn't show up, who is absent in the ways that hurt, I want to say something carefully and honestly. You cannot fix that. You can love them. You can leave the door open. You can resist the temptation to harden. But you cannot make an adult child into someone they have not chosen to be. And spending your remaining years waiting for them to become that person is a cost you cannot afford. I know how hard that is to hear. I live it. But there is a kind of peace available on the other side of accepting it. And that peace is worth more than the hope that things will change on their own. The second relationship is with the friend who has known you the longest. I call this person your witness. The one who knew you before you became whoever you are now. Who remembers the versions of you that no longer exist. Who carries the evidence that your life has been full and real and continuous. For me, that person was a woman named Lorraine, who I met in 1968 when we were both young mothers living on the same street. Lorraine and I were friends for 53 years. She died 3 years ago, and I am still, in some ways, adjusting to the loss. Not just of Lorraine herself, but of the particular kind of knowing she represented. If you have a friend like this still living, I want to urge you with everything I have. Do not take the relationship for granted. Do not assume it will maintain itself. Reach out. Tell them what they mean to you. Ask them the questions you have always meant to ask. The long friendships are irreplaceable in a way that becomes obvious only when they are gone. And the thing I regret most about Lorraine is not anything dramatic. It is the ordinary conversations I didn't have, the afternoons I didn't make time for, the assumption that there would be more time because there had always been more time before. The third relationship is one that most people underestimate, and that is the relationship with a newer friend, someone you have met in the last 5 or 10 years, someone who does not carry the weight of your whole history, someone who knows you only as you are now. I resisted this kind of friendship for a long time after Walter died. I felt, without quite articulating it, that new friends at my age was somehow a consolation prize. that they couldn't really know me the way my older friends did, and that the investment required to build something new wasn't one I had the energy for. I was wrong about that in every possible way. The woman who changed my mind was named Patricia, and I met her at a grief support group I attended, reluctantly, about a year after Walter passed. Patricia had lost her husband 6 months before I lost mine, and from the first conversation we had, I felt the particular ease of talking to someone who was living inside the same specific experience. We became close quickly, the way people do when circumstances strip away the social formalities and leave you with something more direct. Patricia is 77 now, and we talk every week. And what she gives me is not the long history that Lorraine gave me, but something different and equally valuable. The sense of being fully seen as I am right now in this chapter by someone who chose me at this stage rather than carried me over from another one. The fourth relationship is the one I call the practical anchor. And this is the relationship that most people don't think of in emotional terms, but that has, in my experience, enormous emotional consequences. I am talking about the doctor, the neighbor, the person at your church or community center who knows your name and your situation, and who would notice if something was wrong. I know that sounds less intimate than the other relationships I've described, and it is. But let me tell you what it means to have it, and what it costs to not have it. When I was 79, I had a fall in my kitchen. Nothing serious. I bruised my hip and my pride, and I was back on my feet within a week. But in the hours immediately after it happened, what mattered most was not my children or my friends, who were miles away and unaware. What mattered was my neighbor Frances, who had a key to my house and who came by every morning on her way to walk her dog, and who, when I didn't answer her knock that day, let herself in and found me sitting on the kitchen floor, waiting for the pain to subside. Frances is not my closest friend, but she may have been, on that particular morning, the most important person in my life. The practical anchor is the person who is physically present, who knows your routines, who would notice a gap. You need one. If you don't have one, building that relationship is not a small thing. It is, at this age, a form of self-preservation. The fifth relationship is the most unexpected one, and it is the relationship with someone younger than you, significantly younger by a generation or more. I used to think that these relationships were primarily gifts I was giving, that my wisdom and my experience were what I was offering, and that I was the one doing the imparting. I understood eventually that this was an enormous misreading of what was actually happening. My granddaughter, Sophie, is 26 years old. We started talking, really talking, not the holiday and birthday talking, about 4 years ago, when she went through a difficult period and called me, somewhat to my surprise, to ask what I thought. What I found in those conversations was not just the satisfaction of being needed or useful, but genuine intellectual companionship. Sophie sees the world differently than I do, lives inside a set of concerns and assumptions I find genuinely interesting, and asks me questions about my own life that nobody else thinks to ask. She has made me articulate things I had never put into words, and in doing that, she has helped me understand my own life more clearly. That is not a gift I was giving her. That is a gift she was giving me. What I have learned from all of this is something that sounds simple, but took me most of my life to fully understand. Relationships at this age are not passive. They do not maintain themselves. They require the same deliberate attention that any important thing requires, and they reward that attention in ways that nothing else in late life quite matches. The children who show up deserve to be fully welcomed. The oldest friends deserve to be called before it is too late. The new friendships deserve to be taken seriously, even when they feel like they came too late. The practical anchors deserve to be cultivated and appreciated. And the young people who look at you and see a person deserve to have that vision confirmed by someone who lets them in. You are not too old to tend these relationships. You are not too set in your ways, not too tired, not too late. What you are is someone who knows in a way that younger people can't quite access yet how much any of it matters. Use that knowledge. Use it while you still have the people to use it with. That is the only advice I have. And it took me 83 years to earn it.